Welcome to my world history notes, where I read from the book I wrote to teach homeschoolers um, about world history, called "A Bible Believer Looks at World History." And today we're still discussing the seven wonders of the ancient world, um, and today we'll be looking at um, the Pharaoh's Lighthouse at Alexandria. So you can buy my book on Lulu.com, Amazon.com, or the Bible Baptist Bookstore, or you can just follow me here. Now, you may not agree with you will not agree with all my conclusions, but you do need to know about the things that I talk about. So, to be conversant in world history and to be a Bible believer, these are things that you should have in your head. You should at least be aware of them. Okay, so the Pharos Lighthouse at Alexandria. In the fall of 1994, a team of archaeological scuba divers entered the waters off of Alexandria, Egypt. Working beneath the surface, they searched the bottom of the sea for artifacts. Large underwater blocks of stone were marked with floating masts so that an electronic distance measurement station on shore could obtain their exact positions. Global positioning satellites were used to further fix the locations. The information was then fed into computers to create a detailed database of the sea floor. Ironically, these scientists were using some of the most high tech devices available at the end of the 20th century to try and discover the ruins of one of the most advanced technological achievements of the 3rd century BC, the Pharos, Pharos. It was the great Lighthouse of Alexandria, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world. The story of the Pharos starts with the founding of the city of Alexandria by the Macedonian conqueror Alexander the Great in 332 BC. Alexander started at least 17 cities named Alexandria at different locations in his vast domain. Most of them disappeared, but Alexandria and Egypt thrived for centuries and continues even today. Alexander the Great chose the location of his new city carefully. Instead of building it on the Nile Delta, he selected a site some 20 miles to the west so that the silt and mud carried by the river would not block the city harbor. South of the city was the marshy Lake Mareotis. After a canal was constructed between the lake and the Nile, the city had two harbors, one for Nile River traffic and the other for the Mediterranean sea trade. Both harbors would remain deep and clear. Alexander died soon after in 323 BC, and the city was completed by Ptolemy Soter, the new ruler of Egypt. Under Ptolemy, spelled Ptolemy, the city became rich and prosperous. However, it needed both a symbol and a mechanism to guide the many trade ships into the harbor. Ptolemy authorized the building of the Pharos in 290 BC, and when it was completed some 20 years later, it was the first lighthouse in the world and the tallest building in existence, with the exception of the Great Pyramid. The lighthouse's designer was Sostrates of Knidos, Knidos. Proud of his work, Sostrates desired to have his name carved into the foundation. Ptolemy II, the son who ruled Egypt after his father, refused this request, wanting his own name to be the only one on the building. A clever man, Sostrates had the inscription translated for us as Sostrates, son of Dexophanes of Knidos, on behalf of all the mariners to the Savior gods, chiseled into the foundation, then covered it with plaster. Into the plaster was chiseled Ptolemy's name. As the years went by, the plaster aged and chipped away, revealing Sostratus' declaration. The lighthouse was built on the island of Pharos, and soon the building itself acquired the name. The connection of the name with the function became so strong that the word Pharos became Pharos became the root of the word lighthouse in the French, Italian, Spanish, and Romanian languages. The lighthouse was apparently a tourist attraction. Food was sold to visitors at the observation platform at the top of the first level. A smaller balcony provided a view from the top of the 8-sided tower for those that wanted to make the additional climb. The view from there must have been impressive. It was probably 300 feet above the sea. There were few places in the ancient world where a person could ascend a man-made tower to get such a perspective. How then did the world's first lighthouse wind up on the floor of the Mediterranean Sea? Most accounts indicate that, like many other ancient buildings, it was the victim of earthquakes. It stood for 1,500 years but was damaged by tremors in 365 and 1303 AD. Reports indicate the final collapse came in 1326. Did the divers actually find the remains of Pharos in the bottom of the harbor? Some of the larger blocks of stone found certainly seem to have come from a large building. Statues were located that may have stood at the base of the Pharos. Interestingly enough, much of the material seems to be from earlier eras than the lighthouse. Scientists speculate that they may have been recycled in the construction of the pharaohs from even older buildings. So we've already discussed the Great Pyramid previously, but interestingly enough, although the pyramid is dated to great antiquity, it might not be mentioned in the Bible, which is odd, and it isn't mentioned in secular sources until Herodotus around 450 BC. Well, that's one of the earliest sources, but it is a fact worth investigating. How old really then are the pyramids on the Giza Plateau? But we're going to discuss the Colossus of Rhodes next. So um, I'll hope to talk to you again soon, and we'll talk about the Colossus of Rhodes. Take care.